So welcome to the webinar, everybody. I'm Debra Sofia Magdalene, and tonight I'm delighted to be hosting this webinar with Skip Archimedes, otherwise known as the Miracle Man. Skip, why did they call you the Miracle Man? Where did that coin of phrase come from?
That came from Asia. We was actually trying to get the Naked Health Detective out there. That was the brand name, the brand message that we was going to share with the world. We was going to train up as many naked health detectives around the world as possible. But for some reason, that name didn't kind of hit people in the heart. And it was one day I was doing some press over in Asia for a big magazine over there. And I got sent the magazine after we'd done the interview. They loved the interview. And on the front cover of this magazine was on page, I forget which page it was, but an interview with the Miracle Man. And I was like, screw looking at the interview with me. I want to see who this Miracle Man is. And I went to that page and it was me. And I said to my partner, I said, Tracy, we're meant to be getting the Naked Health Detective brand out there. That's what we're pushing. She goes, but people don't understand what a Naked Health Detective here, and they want to call you the Miracle Man. I said, they want to call me the Miracle Man. And she said, yeah. And my ego kind of jumped up and down and went, take it, sounds good. And that was the name that stuck. So it came from Asia. But what's been quite amazing is that since that name has stuck, more miracles have started to happen at the events. And what it has done, because I now know that now I've been witness to so many miracles happening. The first part of any miracle is we've got to be open to it. Because if we're not open to it, what can happen is we can say we want a miracle to happen, and the universe can conspire to line things up so that can happen. But the very next stepping stone that allows that momentum to start to get going, we can just block it based off of current belief systems or a certain way of thinking or a bad habit. And what I've realized is that when I kind of cut people away from a lot of the stuff that's causing the resistance, miracles are happening so fast in all areas of people's lives. And, I've gone through a few sort of physical miracles myself, which opened me up to miracles. And that really is the first part. It's more about what we can allow to happen. And the reptilian part of our brain, this little mechanism at the back, it wants to control things. It wants to be in its comfort zone, and it's given to us to protect us. To protect us. So that mechanism is great. But if we live and we allow that mechanism to happen, that very mechanism will stop a miracle coming onto our radar. So we are designed, I think, so perfectly. And what we're now understanding is how we can allow miracles to happen on a daily basis. And when we start to appreciate the miracles, we get more in flow with them, and it makes it a lot easier to have those dreams that we had as children be present with us as adults. Because I think that a lot of us have stopped dreaming, a lot of us have stopped going for the big thing because we're focused on the problems. And when we open up to new possibilities, because what I've learned is that we're never going to get rid of the challenges, we're never going to get rid of the problems. And the second that we really start to get in that flow state and we're thinking, oh my God, like, I'm sailing down this journey of life and it feels really good, boom, life's going to come and give us a nice little, I call them blessings, most people call them problems. Life's going to give us something to wake us up, to take us back out of our comfort zone, because I really believe that that's the only place that we can grow is outside of our comfort zone. So a lot of us that are on this call this evening, we're used to being outside of our comfort zone. But when we can allow ourselves to actually have the knowing that we're meant to be outside of our comfort zone so we can grow and expand. And it is actually safe out there. It's okay outside of our comfort zone. Why? Because the non-physical part of the spirit that surrounds us has got our back 24/7. And as we start to go through and we start to integrate these teachings, then that non-physical part of what we are has a louder voice than the voice inside the mind. And we all know what that voice inside the mind can be like. It can be quite annoying at times. It can be very disabling at times. And as we start to really take back control, and in some areas we have to take back control by letting back go of control, and then we can really start to step into our greatness. Because I think at this point in life in human history, at this part of the 21st century, especially with what's going on around the world, I really believe that we are living in the best time in human history. We've got so much technology that we've created. I mean, we designed this stuff. You know, we're clever as human beings. You know, for us to be able to literally be able to do a call like this and connect with people around the world at different parts around the world, we couldn't do this stuff 50 years ago. Our parents and their ancestors couldn't do this stuff. We're so lucky, but at the same time, we haven't learned what's within us, because when we learn what's within us and we activate it, then a lot of the challenges that most people live with, they just disappear, because we start to vibrate in these high frequencies. And as we start to vibrate in these high frequencies, we naturally become more of an optimist. We naturally start to see what's right about the situation, even when we're challenged. We naturally start to see what's great in other people. We naturally start to have a lot more energy. We have a lot more mental focus. We have a lot more mental clarity. We have a lot more play within us. We become more flexible in our choices, and we don't get stuck in a rut. And I find that a lot of us get stuck in a rut because we're stuck up in our brains.
So tonight we're here to talk about getting back into balance. Now, last week I was doing, I had an essential oil stand at the allergy show in Liverpool, and there's so many people there that are out of balance with like allergies, ailments. And one of the things that you said that we're going to be talking about is getting the mind-body connection to learn from any disease, allergy or ailment we may be experiencing. So how can we do that?
Wow.
This will be really, really useful for people that actually were at that show, and a lot of them want information, so I can actually send them this video link to watch.
Brilliant,
Oh.
brilliant, brilliant. So just so people know, the reason why I'm sharing what I'm sharing now is, one, it worked on myself, and I never share anything with anyone unless I've tried and tested it myself, because then I've got direct experience of this working. And when it comes to allergies, to ailments, I used to be covered from head to toe in eczema. I used to have like horrible boils on my head. I was in a coma for 3 months with pneumonia. Really bad asthma, was on like the bong like 4 times a day. And also the blue one, probably about 8 times a day, the Ventolin. Was my first set of teeth rotted because of all the medicines that I was being fed. Had allergies to animals, to dust, to pollen, to grass, the feathers, the list just went on. And I thought that was how life was going to be. And I just want everyone to know who's watching this, who may be somebody with allergies. And by the way, I have to say I'm not a doctor as well. I have to be very, very clear on that. But at the same time, when I say I'm not a doctor, even though I love doctors, I've just read a report, and this is not my report. I read a report by a guy who is a doctor, and he has just released that the 5th leading cause of disease on the planet, of death, are doctors, which blew my mind. So the doctors are prescribing medications that have side effects that could be doing more harm to that person by taking that medication. So I was on so many medications, and back in the day, and I'm talking like when I was a teenager, I remember being on pretty much double what was recommended as the most you could take. And it was because my doctor was saying, look, you're going to have to take more then. You're going to have to take more. It's obviously not working, so go and take more. And that's what I did. I took more and more and more. And the symptoms just didn't go away. And what I personally learned, for me, was that the answer wasn't in the pills. And the answer actually wasn't even in me going to the doctor, because what I found out was they didn't know the answer. And the reason why is you have to turn around and look at your lifestyle choices. And what I looked at for me was what I was putting in my mouth food-wise. And I realized that a lot of the foods that I was living on back then, a lot of the meat, the dairy, the eggs, the things like that, I was eating all this stuff because I thought it was good for me. And as soon as I literally cut out the dairy, instantly, I mean literally instantly, my skin started to change. And I realized that within the dairy and people say, well, don't we need dairy for strong bones? And we now know that people who eat dairy have the weakest bones on the planet. And I was a big, big, big dairy consumer. Big, you know, there was dairy pretty much with every meal. It was a milk, it was a cheese, it was a cream, ice cream for dessert. There was some type of dairy in every meal. And when I learned the science behind the dairy, because I thought that, you know, milk was good for us. We needed the milk. I really believed that. And just by cutting out the dairy, what you cut out is that there's so much mucus that goes in the body when we take on dairy. And what any dairy has is it contains lactose. Now, whether you're lactose intolerant or not doesn't matter, because what happens is when you consume that dairy, lactic acid is formed within the body. And your body has to buffer that lactic acid with something that is alkaline. And it takes that alkalinity out the bones. That's why our bones get weak when we have dairy. And so not only does it give us weak bones, but now we're having to try and push out the body this acid. And usually where it comes out is the skin, something around the skin, because it's the largest organ in the body. So what I found was just by making that one lifestyle choice. Now, most people who have dairy is about 30% of their calories that they consume. So if people just took dairy and they went cold turkey on their dairy, which is a weird expression to say, but they just cut the dairy out and they replaced that dairy with something that was live, you know, fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds. They replaced it with something along those lines. They will notice such a massive change. Now, for those that say, well, what about my milk? There are so many milk choices out there now. You know, there's rice milk, there's oat milk, there's soya milk, there's nut milk, coconut milk. There's so many different milks out there, so people can get the same texture, the same consistency, but without putting the acid in the body. Because that acid is, you know, anytime that there's something in imbalance, it means that the immune system has been compromised. And again, I used to walk in a room, if there was an animal in the room, I'd be sneezing before I even got in the room. Whereas now, I love animals, and I can't believe the connection that I've got with these animals, because I'm not sneezing anymore. There's no allergy there. Because what I found is that the mind-body connection works in this way. When we're happy, when we're healthy, when we're in balance, the body's not talking to us because it's our vehicle through life. We're using it and having fun with it. But anytime that there's an ache, where there's a pain, where there's an imbalance, where there's any form of resistance, that's the body saying, some of these choices that you're making in life might not be the best choices. So we've got to look at what choices one is making. So if it's anybody to do with, now I'm going to try and make this as general as I can to cover all people who have allergies, because I know what it's like to live with them. It is horrible. You know, the red eyes, the streamy eyes, the blocked nose, just dealing with the symptom instead of actually responding to life in our greatness. I really understand this world. And when we start to actually look at our lives and we say, right, what choices am I making? Am I eating stuff that's going to clog me up? Or am I eating stuff that's going to cleanse me? If you're eating something that nature made in its pure form, we're eating to cleanse. Now, what happens is when you start to give your body certain gifts, i.e. the number one thing that we need is oxygen. We can go months without food, we know that. We can go days without water, minutes without oxygen, and we're dead. So we know that oxygen is the one thing that we have to focus on more than anything else. So by breathing consciously, and in fact, those that are watching this now, while I'm spending the next few minutes explaining this, breathe in with me and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Now carry on doing this while I'm speaking. So inhale and exhale. Now, as I'm breathing and you're consciously, so as I'm speaking and you're consciously breathing and exhale, breathing deep into the belly, some of you might start to feel that your head's going a little bit lightheaded. Some of you might start to feel some tingling sensations. These are things getting activated again because most of us aren't breathing correctly. In fact, most people are only using 20% of their lung capacity. What's the number one cancer now? Lung cancer. Why? If you don't use it, we will lose it. So we need to use all of what we are, and we're a body, we know this, but we've got an amazing mind and we've got a spirit. So when we start to activate all three, suddenly health, energy, vitality, a body that's in balance, these are our God-given rights. You know, I was born with a lot of this stuff, so I thought I was going to live with this my entire life. But what I learned was by looking at my lifestyle choices and really making good conscious choices, things started to turn around. So I made sure that I got oxygen in my body. One was through conscious breathing, just like what we're doing now. Keep breathing, inhaling and exhaling. How else can we get oxygen in the body? By fun movement. Look how much kids are moving all the time. And when we do fun movement, we get that oxygen in the body. And then when we start to hydrate with clean water and we're getting good nutrients in our diet, like with good supplements on a regular basis, we've covered the top three things that our body needs. And we haven't got to food yet, because all food is a shuttle system to be able to get the nutrients in that are in the food into your body. And you know, there's lots of great superfoods out there now where, you know, you can literally take a spoonful of superfoods, drink that, and that's more nutrients than what most people eat in a day just in one meal. So it's live nutrients that we want to be looking at. Now, the other thing that I didn't learn until later on in life, but I was able to really reduce all of my symptoms around any allergies and all the things that we're talking about, was understanding how our emotions work. And this is a big thing for most people, where a lot of the physical pains that most people are feeling now, we've realized that a lot of my physical pains, that trapped emotional energies in the body. And when we go into these higher states of consciousness, or when we can do daily rituals, things that we're going to do on a daily basis that start to nourish our body, start to nourish our mind, it reconnects us with spirit. That balance can start to come back real quick. I mean, we've had people on the retreat where we're talking people who've had skin conditions for their whole life, you know, eczema, things like that, and gone within 5 days. How come? Because a few simple things. One, we stop the poisoning. No more poisoning goes in the body, goes in the mind, or goes in the emotional body. Two, we start to cleanse out the body. And this is something that we want to learn to do on a regular basis. We've got to learn to cleanse out this physical body, because the basic thing of a human body is assimilating things, so consuming things, assimilating them, and then eliminating them. That's it. And when we, and the body lets go of the waste, and when we can learn to really clean our colon, we can really learn to clean our liver, we can learn to clean the cells in our body, then your immune system is boosted up so high that what happens in those moments is something that might have made you sneeze doesn't get you anymore, because now you're not on the edge. Now you've built up your immunity so that your immune system and all these little soldiers that are inside of you to protect you, now you've got them in their thousands instead of having maybe half a dozen there. And that's where our focus needs to go, where we start to become consciously aware of the lifestyle choices that we're making. Now, this does also come down to the thoughts that we're choosing and how we get to respond to life, no matter what the situation is and no matter who it is. Are we responding from a heart place? Or are we having like a knee-jerk reaction where, no, you said this and you did, and before you know it, we've got entangled in that frequency. And when we get entangled in that frequency, you're never going to find the solution. And what happens is that stress, because stress is going to break us down and create more acid than anything else. So we need to learn how to, because we can't stop all the stress that goes on the outside world. But what we can learn to do is, and I'll be going through and gifting people these tools at the event on the 27th in Manchester, because here I want to explain, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. And when we look at our lifestyle choices, right, get as much air in your body as you can every single day. And it doesn't matter what the technique is. I'm making this real simple for people. Because your cells in your liver don't care whether you breathe that oxygen through your nose, through your mouth, doesn't care where you breathed it. And it just wants to make sure that they get the oxygen. So it's oxygen should be the first focus. Second thing is water. Got to get good, clean water in the body. You know, water it's 70% of the planet. It's about 70% of what we are. About 90% of our brain is water.
Is tap water okay, Skip?
What's that?
Is tap water okay for people to drink?
It's tap water. So, really good question. Depends on what part of the country you live. There's no doubt that different parts of the country do have better water. If anybody can get to a spring to get that water, by far the best. But one thing I've learned, and this might sound a little bit woo-woo for some people, but instead of freaking out around our water, I'm doing some work with Dr. Emoto's research board, and what they told me and what I believed before that conversation as well is, what's the best water for us to drink? Such a big question. And they gave me the most perfect answer. And they said, you know what it is, Skip? I said, I know, but I want to hear it from you guys. And they said, the best water for people to drink is the water that's right in front of them. Because what Emoto shared with the world is that when you put an intention in the water, depending if it's a good vibed intention or a bad vibed intention, will depend on really how that water changes under a microscope. Because people that don't know, what they would do is they would take the water that had good intentions put in, and they would freeze it, take pictures of it under a microscope, and it would come out beautiful, symmetrical, and it looked like pieces of art. The water that had bad vibes intentions put in came out all gooey, and it was horrible. There was nothing symmetrical to it. It didn't look like a piece of art. It looked like a mess. And what they're saying is that whatever drink we're drinking, if we bless that drink, I mean, really bless it, not with thoughts going, right, I bless you, thank you very much, I'm really happy I'm drinking this water. You got the right words, but there was no feeling attached to it. And this feeling is one of the most beautiful things that I learned from Bruce Lee. Like when I was told I was never going to walk again. And what I learned from him was, he said, don't think, feel. Because we're stuck in our brains and we're looping this thing around. Now, one of the best things that anybody can do who's watching this right now, who has any form of physical pain, any form of allergy, symptom, is find those things that can just make you feel good. Find those things that can release a good feeling, a good vibe feeling to the 100 trillion cells that make up your physical body. Because if I ask people a question, can our thoughts make us ill and can our thoughts make us well? You're going to answer, of course, yes. So what's more powerful than thoughts are the emotions. Now, if we're feeling negative emotions for whatever reason, and the brain will come up with a reason, well, I'm feeling this negative reason because of this, and because of this, and it will line up all these, yeah, that's why I'm not feeling good. Yeah, I found my reason, and we give thumbs up to not feeling good, and it's stupid. Because life only, at the end of the day, life comes down to the quality of the emotions that we experience on a daily basis. And I know we're kind of going into areas now where people go, hang on a minute, what about my allergy? This is how I got rid of all of my allergies, and how I've been able to teach tens of thousands of people all over the world how to do exactly the same. Because if this is you in the middle and you've got allergies or imbalances that aren't feeling good, the easiest way is to take a step back. Let's look at things from a higher perspective. Let's see what's going on here. And this little thing can be bouncing through life, and suddenly it might come in contact with someone. Oh, good vibe connection. Next one, bad vibe connection. Bad vibe connection. Situation bad. And all these situations are having a bad vibe effect on this person. Whereas if we can go inwards and we can find and we can line things up that we can go to at any moment in time where we can feel good, because our Creator gave us free will, and most of us are abusing our own free will. And when I say abusing, I literally do mean abusing, because if we're choosing negative thoughts, then we're abusing the cells in our body. And our little cells, they thrive when we feel good. And most of us are waiting for something to happen, or some things to happen so that we get to feel good. But the truth is, and they're looking for these roads to happiness, but there are no roads to happiness, because happiness is the road. So when we can be happy for no reason, and I'm not on about painting over a mask, I'm not on about, well, yeah, I'm happy. And they're saying the words, I mean going to a place where we can genuinely be happy. And how do we do that? We have to start to look at things that we can appreciate with a good feeling. Like for me, I feel so blessed that I had all those allergies, because I got to go through that journey of living with them, where, you know, times at night I couldn't breathe. You know, many times I was rushed to the hospitals, many times in different countries as well. And I know what that world really feels like. So to get people back in balance, one, we have to be in balance physically. So you have to give your physical body oxygen, water, nutrients. That's what the physical body needs. Now, the emotional body, we have to give that good vibes. Now, usually the mind, what we have to do with the mind is we have to find things that we can focus on that can make us feel good. Now, for everybody, it's going to be totally different. This is why, like when we do the events, and we'll be doing this on the 27th, there's a lot of processes that we go through that are so fun. And what I do is I show people the contrast of it not being nice to then it being euphoric. And all of this stuff happens in literally just a few minutes, and I take people in and out of these different frequencies, and then they know how to access them themselves. And when they can access all the good ones, they realize, oh my God, I used to live in that stupid one, and I did too. And we realize that, oh my God, I'm programmed in a way that doesn't serve me. And I'm sorry to use that we're a bunch of programs, but primarily that's what we are. We are the most phenomenal computer system on the face of this planet. There's nothing that we can design. I mean, our eyes are making millions of distinctions every single second. When we think about some of the magical things that you've heard, whether it be like, you know, nature, someone whispered in your ear, a nice piece of music, things that we can touch, we can feel. I mean, the design of this is remarkable. But most of us are making lifestyle choices that is breaking this thing down. So if there is any imbalance, what we have to do is we have to open up the mind-body connection. And what it does is it allows the body to talk to us. Louise Hay was a great big advocate of this. You know, I love Louise Hay's work. She started off with, you can heal yourself, and saying that the body will talk to you, and it will. It will talk to you just like a person. And when I first heard this, I thought, oh my God, this is woo-woo-y stuff. This is so stupid, as if my body's going to talk to me. And with what happened on the recent injury, the one where I fell 50 feet down a waterfall, smashed this wrist, smashed the tailbone, how fast that healed was purely because I was talking to my body regularly in a nice way. Not having thoughts go into the body that were negative thoughts about life, because as we become more empowered and more empowered, the challenges are going to get bigger and bigger, because we're more able to deal with the challenges. And this is where life gets really, really good, where the challenge comes in, we respond in our greatness, the body's in balance, the mind's in balance. We've dealt with a lot of the illnesses, a lot of the allergies, and a lot of these things. And we take those teachings in life, because as soon as people have gotten rid of their allergies, oh my God, it's like climbing the best mountain.
I know. I used to have really severe hay fever, and I was also allergic to cats. I just need to walk into a room, and immediately I'd come out in hives, and my eyes would start. And I cut dairy out of my diet, and I addressed it through my diet, and my symptoms went away. It was like magic. But what about, like, if is there anything that we need to learn to do to let go of symptoms, or what if we've got any resistance to it? How do we find balance if we've got resistance?
Brilliant. So the resistance will be in many different forms. The resistance could be financial, the resistance that people feel, and so let me just go through a few. So the resistance can be mental, can come from thoughts, it can come from emotions, it can come from things happening in the outside world that we're judging or we're pinning meanings on that aren't serving us. And the resistance can come from within. You know, we can create inner resistance. So what I found is that when we really start to, and all I can do here is talk through what these things are. Those that come to Manchester on the 27th, you'll be gifted this stuff, because I'll be able to guide you through these processes, because I've got a whole day with you. So first of all, getting back in balance means that we have to do certain things every single day on a regular basis. Like most people don't forget to breathe. Most people don't forget to eat, even though they might be eating stuff that's not good for them. Most people don't forget to put their clothes on when they leave the house in the morning. Because why? Because if they walked out the house naked, they would feel a lot of resistance. Now, what we have to learn to do is really look at our lives in a holistic point of view. And it's very simple things. You know, am I moving my body? Because children are the best teachers. Look at children, they're moving their body all the time. They're doing things that have their interest. And as soon as they're bored with it, they let go of it and they go and do something that has their attention, something that makes them feel good. And a lot of us have started to pin meanings on things that give us resistance. So the first thing that we have the choice of is, what does this mean to me in life? This situation I'm going through, this situation that's come right on my radar, what meaning can I pin on this that's going to be empowering? Because the first thing that we do as human beings is we pin meanings on things, but a lot of us are pinning meanings on things that leave us feeling like a victim, that leave us feeling off balance, that leave us not responding in all of our greatness. So because we're given free will, we can choose what things mean. So when there could be a challenge, like for me, when I was going through all my allergies, I kept asking the question, you know, why am I going through this? How come no one else in my family's got any of this stuff? How come it's only me? And what came up, which I never got back then, but what came up was, the reason why you're going through all this stuff now is when you're free of it, you can teach other people how to get free of it. Didn't make any sense to me at the time. And only in the last 10 years did I actually go, wow, the same thing was talking to me back then, but I just didn't know how to listen back then. Yeah. And it's the same thing talking to us now. And it's the non-physical part of what we are. We have all the answers within us. So what I don't want to confuse people with is another tool, another strategy, another technique, because then they go up in their brains. And really what I want people to be with this whole conversation is in our hearts. Because when we go into our heart, all we know how to do is respond with love. All we know how to do is feel good. And we don't need a reason to feel good. It's like being shown a newborn baby for the first time. What happens to most people? Their hearts open up and they give some love to the baby. And what happens in those moments is they've just given love to 100 trillion cells that make up their physical body. Because if you want to receive it, you have to give it. You want to feel love? Give love. And and this might sound really whack and woo-wooey, but just those things that we've mentioned so far, Deborah, cutting out the dairy is a huge one. Making sure that we're not taking things into the body that's going to create acid. Now, these are things that are jacked up with sugars or have sugar sweeteners in them. A lot of the things where they've removed the fat and they've replaced them with sugar sweeteners, that's not a healthy choice. You know, we want good live food. The more live we intake, the more live we feel. And that one little shift alone, where we're starting to look at, and that's something weird for some people again, dark green leafy vegetables. We've got to live in this alkaline way. You look at batteries, Duracell batteries, alkaline batteries, they last 7 times longer. And the more energy, the more alkalinity we have, because what we now know is, and this is fact, science now, disease cannot spread and manifest inside an alkaline body. So if we turn our blood alkaline, a lot of these diseases, a lot of these allergies that we're living with, as your immune system gets boosted up, and we're not clogging it up anymore, we're not poisoning it, so we stop the poisoning, suddenly that mechanism that keeps your heart beating 100,000 times a day without you thinking about it, that mechanism that if we cut ourselves, we heal naturally without having to give it one single thought, that part of you boosts your immune system automatically. You don't even have to give it one single thought. All we've got to do is take the power of nature and start to eat it. The power of nature, start to juice it up. Start to move your body, because what makes the cells in the body weak is decreased workload. When we start to increase our workload, our immune system gets boosted up, and a lot of those allergies just start to disappear. So getting back in balance, what I found is going within, reconnecting with nature, finding these little habits that we can do throughout the day that make us feel good. Like, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm just going to show you here. Like, I have down the side of my room a rebounder. Every hour, literally every hour, I get up and I jump on that like a little kid. Why would I do something like that? What's that?
It's fabulous. I don't have a rebounder, but I used to have one, but I don't have a house now. And I remember, like, even just going up and down on your heels, it has the same impact. So it's not an excuse. If you haven't got a rebounder, you can still do it by just jumping up and down.
The thing is, when like what you just said there, Deborah, and you laughed with it. Yeah. It's connecting to that child part of us. I mean, just before this,
everybody bounce up and down on your seats now when you're doing it, or stand up and just get some oxygen.
I love it, because it's. I mean, look at my shoes. Look, right? I literally came from a restaurant all the way back here. That's how much of a kid I am. Can you see these? I've got wheels in my heels. So you see, like,
yeah, my granddaughter's got them.
Most kids now, as an adult, here I am flying down past the shops as an adult, and people are just like, that's an adult. But we have to keep that childlike spark within us alive. Otherwise, we lose the magic of life. We lose that laughter that we can just laugh and be happy, because a lot of us are getting really heavy with, I should do this, I shouldn't do that, and we get locked into what's right and wrong. Yeah. And kids don't have that. Kids have this playful spirit. Kids can see the wonder of life, and they can find the whole world, the whole universe in a stone. Yeah. But yet, we got things like this that we're surrounded by, and we're still getting bored in life. So the idea is to open up to new possibilities, and to also trust that we are all where we are in life because of decisions that we've made. And all of us can take our lives into different situations, into better situations, based upon the decisions that we start to make. And as we start to take control of decisions, right, what am I now going to put in my body? Am I going to put something in my body that's going to turn to acid, that's going to feed the allergy? Because most people are acidic, and if you've got these small levels of acid flying through your body, then it's only going to take one little thing. Like if I cut myself and I had an open wound here, and we took a feather and rubbed it on it, it would aggravate it. That's where people's immunity is. It's at such a low level that simple things like dust coming in, dust particles, and all these can have effects on people. And I was one of those people. Whereas now I'm like, oh my God, these things that used to get me, I feel empowered. I don't feel like I can be broken down anymore. And when I do get broken down, like people just witnessed, physically really broken down, look how fast the body heals. And we all have this within us. And I want people to know this. It has nothing to do with genetics. Don't be fooled by this myth that, well, my grandfather had this, then my parents had this, my older brothers and sisters had it, and I'm next on the list. No, you're not. If you change your lifestyle habits, and those that come on the 27th, I promise you, you will leave that event with an empowering future. No, because I want to get you in such a high frequency that when we get you in these high states of consciousness, we get you to commit to things that serve you at the highest level. And when it comes from that high level, there's no resistance. We're not making bad decisions that we need to go and make another one to get over the wrong one. And suddenly we start to wake up feeling empowered. We start to wake up loving who we are, accepting the body and mind in its current condition, but knowing that there's always work to be done. And knowing that when that work is like play, you suddenly realize that, my God, planet Earth is the best playground in the whole universe, and we get to play on it every single day.
Yes, isn't it? I love it. Listen, I want to keep the answers short now because we've only got 10 minutes left in the call, and I've got some questions that I need to ask you, right, from people who have written in. So the first one I wanted to ask you was, like, a lot of people can be addicted to things, like sugar's highly addictive. So how can we let go of things that don't serve us and make that change to having the things that do serve us when we've got addictions there as well?
Brilliant. So I'm going to make this the shortest answer I've ever given. So when we've got addictions to anything sugary, you know, like the caffeine, the coffees, the desserts, the biscuits, the chocolates, the confectionery, all of that stuff, what happens is we're feeding a consciousness within us. We're not feeding ourselves with that gunk, because that's what it is. It's gunk. It's got a high, you know, the sugar's going to, energy's going to go up, but then it's going to come crashing down. And what happens is we turn into, so the consciousness that we're feeding in is, for most of us, is candida. Most people have got candida now, and that consciousness, leave it, oh my God, I need sugar, and we're like zombies, you know, heading for somewhere where we can get that sugar fix. As we start to, and we have like these, you know, these sugar burning bodies when we get our energy from sugar, and it might be things like white pasta, white bread, which all of that stuff, white rice, it turns to sugar in the body eventually. Now, when we turn ourselves alkaline, dark green leafy vegetables, things like that, suddenly that candida starts to get pushed out the body. Suddenly the sugar cravings change, because now instead of having an energy that goes up and then comes down, you've got this alkalinity, which you're in higher states of energy, and it doesn't crash. And what happens in those moments is your body turns into a fat-burning body, fat-burning machine. So going alkaline is the key. And people can test these themselves by getting these pH strips from, you can order them online, and you basically put them under your tongue or you pee on them, they come out a certain colour, you put them against a graph, and it shows you how acid or alkaline you are. And we want to be around 7.4. When we're around 7.4, magic happens in the body. The addictions to the sugary stuff, it just stops. I mean, it just goes away, because now what's happening is you're going to get the addictions to the stuff that's going to really nourish the body. It's not going to break the body down. So that's the fastest way I found getting rid of addictions, is just go alkaline.
I agree with you there. I used to be really addicted to sugar, and I had really high levels of candida, 80% candida in my gut, and I completely eliminated it and did a complete elimination diet, and the weight just dropped off me, and the addictions went.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And really this ties in with one of the questions from somebody called Karen, who said, over the years I've been on diets and lost weight only to put it back on again. So any tips to regain my ideal body weight and shape?
Brilliant question. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in the same boat. I know, you know, I've been there too in the past, where, you know, I started something and ended up in a worse place than what I started. And the reason being is we've got to find the reasons why we're doing something. Because these yo-yo diets, the latest fads, they sell magazines, but the reason why they don't work is because they want you to come back and buy the next gimmick, the next fad, the next yo-yo thing. So they're designed not to work. They work up to a certain time length, certain amount of weeks, and that's what they document. But then when they follow people time and time again after, they've realized that, these aren't really giving people the lifestyle habits that they want to create. That's why when we bring people to the events, we help them create lifestyle changes. Now, what I would ask her, the first question that I would ask her is, why does she want to change? We've got to know why we're doing something. And when we create such a strong why that, you know, why am I alive on this planet? Why am I here? When we know why we're here, we just have to spend the rest of our lives enjoying while we're here. And we're not here to save the world. You know, the world doesn't need saving. You know, the design to this game of life is so beyond human beings. You know, the design of this game of life designed human beings. So we were meant to go through the dark ages. We were meant to go through these different stages of life. And when we just get back to a place where we say, you know what, I don't have to worry about saving the world. What I just want to do is I want to enjoy life. I want to be happy. Now, our heart can't be really happy if we're overweight or our inner organs, because they're working twice as hard with more weight on the body, and it's heavy to lug that stuff around. So when, and again, this is going to be the weirdest answer for some people, but it's going to be the right answer for some as well, is when you really love who you are, so many things just seem to be okay. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to reshape your body, or you don't, you know, it's not taking away the hunger of wanting to work on yourself, because this physical body, it was created to move. And we want to be moving every day in ways that feel good to us. And a lot of people who start their diet end up in the worst place. It's because they're still living up in their heads. They're living in a brain, and they will never find, you know, they can spend a lifetime trying to find the answers up there, and they're never going to find the answers, because the answers are in the heart. Now, when we're in the heart, we can love ourselves throughout that journey, because again, this journey, it shouldn't be about the destination. You know, everyone's like, well, when I've lost the weight and I lost it before and I put it all back on again, and now I need to go on it, and when I reach this point and I do this journey, then I'll feel good when I get here. No, bring that feeling right to the beginning of the journey. Love yourself for who you are now. Don't beat yourself up for making mistakes, because that's how we learn. You know, I've made some of the biggest mistakes in life, but I'm so grateful I made those mistakes, because then I got to learn the lesson. And isn't that the same for all of us? When we learn the lessons, we let go of the resistance, and ultimately, when we were children, we loved ourselves. We played, we connected with other people without judgment. We were in the heart. If someone walked in with a big nose, they'd be like, hey, mister, why have you got such a big nose? They were so free in their expression that they weren't up in their minds. So what I would say is, become childlike again. Remember that part of you that's innocent. Remember that part of you that you can just love, because that's you. You don't need a reason to love it. You just love it because that's you. And when you find that part that you love, and you make a decision from that empowering place, well, okay, well, I want to lose weight because it's not too healthy. I'm seeing now that a lot of people who are overweight don't live as long as most people, and I want to spend more time on this planet with those that I love and care about. That's a really, really good, empowering reason to want to go and lose the weight now. So you spend the rest of your life with more energy, with more happiness, with those that you love and care about. When you've got your reason why and you write all these things down, when temptation comes up, you just go, right, why am I doing this? And you go and read these reasons immediately, because the temptation is going to come. It has to come to test you to see if you've learned your lesson or not. And then suddenly, you know, you might have this box of, I don't know, marshmallows or whatever it might be that people snack on. Suddenly, that's low vibrational food. That's low emotional food. That's eating for emotion, not eating for nutrition. And suddenly, those decisions, they just get pushed away. And every time you push that temptation away, boom, you get empowered. Oh, I feel good. Oh, it feels good pushing that away. When you really push it away and you don't want it, and you have to make those decisions, because what part of this lady's learning is she's learning how to strengthen her emotional muscle. It's emotional decision making, that where she was before, she's made negative emotional choices that have got her into this position. And now all she's got to learn is to make more empowering choices coming from a stronger emotion. And when she makes them from a stronger emotion, suddenly those temptations won't even come up on her radar anymore. I mean, when I look at how I used to live and how I used to eat, I was gobsmacked that I used to live that way. I couldn't even go back and entertain a bite of a meal that way now, let alone the whole meal. And what happens is, as you start to give your body what it needs, the body starts to get back in balance. The body starts to get back in shape. You start to be proud of the body that you're starting to sculpt. Proud of what you're seeing on the outside, but also proud of what you're creating on the inner world, in the body. And you're realizing that your body is the only thing that's with you from the day you're born until the day you pass. So it is our temple. It is sacred. It's our vehicle through life. So let's get it highly tuned. Let's get it activated. Let's get it working to the best it can. And suddenly you're going to wake up just loving your body. Not for any reason, but because it's you.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great answer. And I can really resonate with what you were saying there. Like when I was getting rid of my candida years and years ago, I made the decision that I was going to promise myself that I would do this for me. And I said, I'll do whatever it takes to do that. And before I ate anything, I asked myself a question: is this going to heal me, or is it going to harm me? Is it going to kill the yeast, you know, the candida, or is it going to help eliminate it, feed it? So is it going to kill or feed? And everything I consumed was made on those decisions. But I made the mistake of only wanting to get rid of the candida, and I didn't, and once it had gone, I then returned to my previous lifestyle choices. I thought, oh, I've cracked it now. I can go back to eating what I want. So I hadn't made that full switch. And so what we're talking about are complete lifestyle changes and loving ourselves, because what we put in our body is creating ourselves and helping us to raise our vibration. So the next thing I want to ask you is about turning our body and mind into a higher frequency so it functions better. And I suppose this goes back to what you've been saying about putting the good stuff in there, in feeding the cells with the good stuff to raise the vibration.
It really is a combination of so many things. There's the food, the drinks that we're taking in, and they are either going to have a healing effect on people. And because when it comes to live food, I want people to understand the difference between live food. Live food is food the way that the planet made it. Now, to show people real quick, like, let's imagine that we've got the sun up here, and this sun is beaming down energy, it's beaming down heat, it's beaming down information that these plants capture. As the plants capture this information, they're rooted to the planet. The planet's alive. They're now getting the energy of the planet, they're getting the energy of the sun. This fruit, vegetable, nuts, whatever you want to call it, now has to weather different seasons, just like we do in life. We've got to be strong enough to weather the different seasons. And as we then pick that fruit, vegetable, that nut, that seed, that grain, whatever it is, in the right season, and we eat it, we're eating those live foods. They've got, you know, a high water content. And in those moments, we're taking that energy, we're taking that wisdom, we're taking that information into the body. And that alone can start to take people into these higher states of consciousness, into these higher frequencies. But what's also cool, and this is the latest research that we've just uncovered, and I love this. I'm going to be going into some of this at the event, and this is really, really super cool stuff. This is like the latest findings in the scientific world. We know that we're made of about 100 trillion cells. Inside our cells, we've got DNA. And what we're now understanding is that we can re-encode our DNA. But at the end of our DNA, there are things like if I take this off and we look at a piece of end of plastic around the end of a shoelace. Now those two things on the ends of our strands of DNA, they're called telomeres. And what we used to know, or what we used to believe, I should say, some people used to know this, what we used to believe was that because what would happen if I use that again and again and again and again and again, and that resembles the telomeres inside our body, if I keep using this as a shoelace, what's going to happen to this?
Start fraying.
It's going to start to become useless. And exactly the same happens with our telomeres. That as we start to make lifestyle choices that don't serve us, our telomeres start to shorten and they start to sort of fray and they start to not work as well. And we used to know that as our telomeres shorten, so do our lives. Super cool latest finding, scientific now, is live foods lengthen your telomeres. fact.
Wow, that's cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool. I look forward to learning more about that on the 27th. For those of you who are on the call, you may know that we're doing a big event at the monastery on the 27th of November. The monastery is a fabulous building. We've got the great nave, which is really exciting because the monastery is actually built on some ley lines, and so the energy when we're doing this work on ourselves in this environment, it super charges what's actually going on, and what we're also doing as well is sending that energy down the ley lines so that it's impacting lots and lots of people, not just us. So it's really super cool. So we want as many people there as we can on the 27th of November, because like this information is gold dust and it can help so many people. Skip, remembering who and what we are in all its glory.
Sorry, what was that one?
One of the things that you said we were going to learn on this webinar was remembering who and what we are in all our glory.
Oh, wow. Okay, so first of all, I really want people to understand that we are, and I'm just going to say it straight, that we are, and when I used to ask this question with audiences when I first started to speak, very few hands went up. Mm-hmm. And I said, right, do you believe that we are spiritual beings who every now and again we might get to have a physical experience, who are now having, do you ultimately believe that we're spiritual beings who are now having a physical experience, or do you believe that we are physical beings who every now and again might get to have a spiritual experience? The latter one was the one that most people used to go for. In the last 10 years, I've been amazed how things have switched. So we are these spiritual beings who are now incarnating a physical body for this journey of life. And what we now know, and again, this is science, and I love this, around our DNA, there are symbols and there's a code around our DNA. Now, this goes for every single person who's on the planet. So the ones that are watching this is you too. That around our DNA, there's a code, and they've deciphered the code to a phrase, and I'm not going to go into the detail because I know we're short, but basically the phrase means God eternal within the body. What did I just say? God is not something outside of us. We are on the cutting edge of the forefront of being an expression of God in physical form. To design the human body is phenomenal. To have eyes that can see, to have ears that can hear, to have smell that we can smell, hands that we can pick up things, a feeling that says this is good, this is not so good, organs that all are working, cells that regenerate. Most of the cells in our body regenerate every year. To have an intestine that we can digest food and eliminate the waste, to have teeth that we can chew. All of these things are so incredibly, flawlessly designed when we understand why we're here. And most of us have had things dumped in our minds through our parents, through schooling systems, through TV, through government, which is outdated stuff. It's like, when we've got these things, we're downloading the latest apps on things all the time to keep updated. And you wouldn't have an iPhone and not update it throughout the year. Now, with us, we are trying to update ourselves with stuff that just doesn't work in the world anymore. And we're trying to have this information come in, but then apply these teachings and wonder why we're feeling so resistant, wonder why we're not living the life of our dreams, wonder why, because what we've done is we've put this box around ourselves. And that box comes from our upbringing. So what I invite people to do now, and there's a part of you that knows how to do this, and it's not the brain. So I'm asking people to just trust in something now, because what's going to come through my voice now is something that's going to allow people to trust in them, that they are perfect the way that they are, that they've been given life experiences to learn from, to empower them. Now, I'm not asking people to reject any of this. I'm just asking people to hold space to allow something within them to take in what I'm saying for the moment. Because the answer, when I say the answers are inside ourselves, that within everyone, now as I'm saying this, everyone can agree with me. If you agree with me, please let me know in the box, that within all of us, male or female, and I want to use Carl Jung just with 4 archetypes. That is a process that I take through these archetypes on the retreat. But I just want people to understand this, that within everyone, there's a warrior. And this warrior is somebody who fights for the truth, somebody who has an amazing amount of strength, somebody who will go out there and won't come back until they're coming back with a result. And that warrior gives us strength when we feel weak. But we need to access that part of us more. There's another part of us, which is the magician. And the magician's always got a smirk on his or her face. Why? Because the magician uses non-physical energies in this universe. And the magician can turn like a frog into a prince into a frog. And the magician just knows it can go piff, pat, puff and come up with a spell and turn a whole situation around. Whereas a warrior needs strength, the magician can do things with a lot more ease. Now also we have a lover. And that lover part of us only knows how to respond with love. It doesn't know how to be a victim. It doesn't know how to point the blame. It doesn't know how to complain. It only responds with love. And the 4th part is the sovereign, the god or goddess part of us. And that is the part of us that sees things from the high perspective, that knows that if we literally raised up and we went away from our lives and we went away from the countries and away from the whole planet where we can see the whole planet, suddenly we would see everything working in harmony. And we would see that as human beings, we can't screw things up anymore. The work has been done to really allow people to step into what we call the golden age, where they get to enjoy who they are, they get to enjoy their part of life, even if they don't know what their particular purpose is at that moment. Children don't know what their purpose is. Children don't know what they're going to do tomorrow, but they live for today. And the thing that I really want people to get is that all of our glory comes from the moment. All of our glory, all of our magic, all of our wisdom, all of our everything that we have to offer and share with people happens now. It doesn't happen yesterday. Don't turn around and look at what happened yesterday. You know, there's a simple saying, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's a gift. That's why we call it the present. And when we can be in the moment, we give ourselves that gift. And people might be, yeah, but my moment sucks. My moment, you don't understand what I'm going through at the moment, Skip. Okay, in your moment, write down 50 things, and I challenge people to do this. And let's see if anyone actually does it. I challenge people to write down 50 things that they are grateful for about their life in this moment.
Well, it's very powerful. Very, very powerful is gratitude. Listen, Skip, we've got Christine on the line, and in the chat box, she's asked a question. Is there a limit on the amount of raw fruit and veg to be consumed daily? Okay, great question.
So I've got friends of mine who are fruitarians. They basically just live on fruit now. You can get alkalinity from fruit. I prefer to go more on the dark green leafy vegetables because I just love that feeling of the alkalinity. But I haven't known, like if you're acidic and you've got things like candida, or if you've got cancer in you, any sugar is going to go and feed those symptoms. Any sugar is going to feed the cancer. Any sugar is going to feed the candida. So depending on where you're at, whether you're in balance or out of balance, is going to depend on my response. When you're in balance, you'll find that the best way, like for me, I'm a globetrotter. Every month I'm in a different country, and I tend to go for as many of the locally grown things as I can get. And sometimes that might be a lot of fruit. You know, I might be in Bali or Malaysia, and you have these fruit places on the sides of the roads, and they're all healthy, literally just taken from the forest, brought straight out, and you get addicted to this stuff. And what I will say is that when you get imbalanced, your body will start to speak to you. It will say, no, I don't want this sugar. Don't want that anymore. I want alkalinity. Or it will say, no, this is good. I want more of this. Your body will start to speak to you, and you'll get pulled in directions when it comes to nutrition in ways that are just going to open you up to so many more new food choices. So when you're in balance, I don't believe you can have too many. No.
So
and I recommend people watching a movie called Forks Over Knives. It'll give people such a good game changer.
That's a great movie. I saw that on your retreat in Spain. It was fabulous. Another question from Karen. Does the system that you use for transforming health also have the potential for healing a broken heart?
No, that's such a cute question. I know. So broken heart is, it's one of those things that we are really not going to be able to avoid, you know, unless you decide to go and live in a cave or you go celibate. But at some point, we're all going to experience a broken heart, and we're all going to experience death. But when you know things from a higher perspective, that there actually is no death, that the spirit carries on, and that this game of life is such a short blip in reality, so we want to get the most out of it. What heals a broken heart is love. The same thing that we think created the broken heart, because what it then does is it allows us to love at a deeper level. And one of the things I've learned is, and this is where the lover comes up, you know, as I mentioned, the lover, a lot of us are afraid to be the lover. A lot of us are afraid to play that card because the lover got hurt. And usually we don't give ourselves because we're frightened of the rejection, or we're frightened of giving our all and then being rejected for giving our all. And then we're like, oh my God, I just gave everything and now no one likes me and I'm screwed. Whereas that's all head stuff. When we're really in our heart, we just love. And there's nothing better than, and there is a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And when we're confident in who we are, when we're confident that we're doing we're doing good, we're serving our inner circle, but we're also serving the greater good, that confidence starts to mend the broken heart. That confidence is sexy. That confidence makes us feel good. That confidence gets us up in the mornings, where the people that don't have that confidence, we stay in bed, we stay under the cover, we're looking for the problems, we get weak, we make weak decisions, we become weak people, and we become someone who's so sensitive to simple things in life that life tends to be beating us up all the time. So the answer is yes, it does. The stuff I do teach does heal a broken heart, and we've had many people heal from them and give them best selves to the relationships that they're connected with. Because if you're not giving everything, then ask yourself the question, why am I holding back? Why would I want to hold back? Why would I not want to give my all? Give life your all. Play full out. Give 110%. Because what I know is not giving our best fires off something within our brains, which is could have done better.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we always want to walk away from any situation, and not every situation is going to go the way that you want it. In fact, most of them won't. But when we learn to create the flow, when we let go of the resistance, and we know that we did our best, then doing our best is always enough. Doing our best, you know, I mean, think about it. If we did our best to create a healthy body inside, how would our lives be? If we did our best to shape our bodies the way we wanted them shaped, how would our lives be? If we did our best to give our best to all of our relationships that we're connected to, family, friends, work, business, intimate, how would life be? If we gave our best to making sure that this planet is now better because we walked across it, how would life unfold? How would the whole planet be if everyone gave their best? We would transform this planet overnight just by that one thing.
Yeah, and that's brilliant. Thank you for that. The very, very last question, because we have overrun, and it's from Lisa, and she said that she has an acute allergy to a lot of fruit and also some nuts. And so will that be to do with acid intake? And she'd love to eat these things again without repercussion. Is that possible?
100% possible. Why do I know? I used to have one of the worst nut allergies. I could take nuts. I take things like, my party trick used to be I'd take a peanut, I'd rub it on my lip, and my lip would swell up.
That was a party piece.
When I was at college, that was my party piece. So it's funny because I knew I could handle the lip swelling up without it getting on my chest and without, it stopping me breathing. And twice I had to, get the gun and my nut allergy was really, really bad. Now, when I cleansed myself, really cleansed myself, like what you experienced when you came out on the retreat with us, that when I was really, really cleansed and I was really dialed in and connected back with the planet again, instinctively, I got guided to go and eat nuts. Now, I'd had the worst nut allergy that I'd ever seen from anybody. And I'm at a place in Fiji, at an airport, and they're selling nuts. And there was no protection around me, and it was all on instinct. And I really learned to trust my instinct. And I went and had nuts, and there was no fear of something being, because my body was so loud in talking to me. It says, you can eat now. And I was like, really? I can eat nuts now? And it was as clear as me and you having this conversation, Deborah. So the first thing that I'd like to install in Lisa is, yes, it can happen. Yes, there's no doubt that when you're having fruit at the moment and you're having some nuts at the moment, because if you go and do a pH test, I can guarantee you'll be acidic. Now, when we can work at lifestyle choices, and if you come on the 27th, you're going to get a whole bag load of these choices that you're going to be able to take home with you, that you're going to line things up in your day that are going to stop acidic addictions going in the body. You're going to stop the body creating this acid, because if we're out of balance and there's some type of stress, and it can be any stress, mental stress, emotional stress, job stress, not enough sleep stress, relationship stress, it can be stresses and all these, doesn't matter what way it comes in, that stress is going to cause that acid. Then suddenly, because I used to have things like an apple, and apples would make my lips swell up. So I know exactly what she's talking about. And as she starts to go from being in the 6 area of being acidic, and she can start to get into the 7s, and she can get up to 7.4, watch the magic happen. Watch what happens in the body. And what I found is that when you get rid of that, what you've taught yourself is not just, I can eat nuts now and I can have certain fruits now. It's you've learned about your body. You've learned that you had to do some work to allow these things to happen so you can enjoy the fruit, you can enjoy the nuts. And the answer doesn't come in a cream, the answer doesn't come in a pill, the answer comes in the lifestyle choices where you really start to live consciously. You're, sorry, it sounds going to be blunt, we're not eating dead animals. Those dead animals, wherever they come from, are going to have an acidic effect on the symptom that she's experiencing. That any type of relationship that we're involved with, maybe we was creating resistance within, and the lesson that we have to learn there is some more inner balance. You know what? I've just got to let this go. I've got to not worry about this. I want to respond to this in my greatness so that this person gets to see some greatness coming through me. Because anytime that we complain, blame, or shame, we've created more acid. Yeah. We've created a distance between us and the greatest us. And we want to rejoin these back up so the greatest us becomes someone that we've conditioned. Because you don't just wake up one day and decide, right, I'm going to be the best me today. There's work to be done. You don't wake up one day, right, I'm going to have this amazing body where I'm toned, I'm strong, I'm balanced, I'm flexible. It takes time. But the thing to focus on is what lifestyle choices can I make immediately right now? And this is for people that are on this call. Please don't leave this call being just like another webinar. At least make one lifestyle choice that's going to empower you. It might be something that you're going to cut out of your life. It might be something that you want to introduce to your life. Make that choice, because the more of these empowered decisions you start to make, the more flow with life you get, because life out there is so complex, so complex. That's why as human beings, we don't have to be. The more simple we are, the more easier life becomes. And the more things start to flow to us, and they start to come up on our radar because we've let go of the resistance. So as you start to, so at least this is for Lisa, so as Lisa starts to let go of resistance within the body, and the body starts to get back in balance, and she can start to introduce these things into a life that she likes, watch what other things open up. Because whatever we do physically is going to affect us mentally and emotionally, spiritually and financially. Whatever we do in any one of those areas has a knock-on effect to all the others. So when we start to make lifestyle choices, things every day that we're doing that cleanse the body, cleanse the mind, let things go. We're holding on to so much stuff that's heavy. And for her, it could be an emotional thing, it could be a physical thing, it could be a mental thing. Who knows what it is, but she wants to focus on all of these areas to let go of the resistance.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Skip. And thank you for everybody who's come on the webinar tonight. We really want you to help us share this knowledge, because, you know, a lot of comments have been coming in the chat box saying how much you're getting from it, and thank you, and it's a great reminder, and, you know, it's invaluable information, and we want to get this out to more people. So we'd really appreciate it when we upload it to Facebook and to YouTube. You can share it, and if you know anybody with illnesses like this, you know, tag them in it, because this can really help them. So just to say thank you to Skip, and also if you want to come and join us on the 27th of November in Manchester at Gorton Monastery. If you go on to Mastery Path's website, I've put the link in the web chat, and it's www.mastery-path.com. You'll also find the event on Facebook if you go onto Mastery Path's website, or if you just do a search on Facebook for Mastery Path and Skip Archimedes or Living Forever Young, put any of those in and it'll come up. So add yourself to the Facebook event, invite your friends through the Facebook event and share it. And God bless everybody. We look forward to seeing you soon. Oh, just to let you know as well that we've got early bird tickets available just for the next couple of days. So if you want the best pricing, book right away. Bye everybody. Lots of love.